Hi, I'm Ray with PhoneArena, and here with our video comparison between the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 and the Samsung Galaxy S4. So Samsung is known for having offerings across all known device categories, from tiny low-cost Android handsets to gigantic feature-packed powerhouses like the Galaxy Note 3 here. Somewhere in the middle is the Galaxy S4, Samsung's current Android flagship smartphone. And even though the GS4 falls into a slightly different category, it inevitably has to face the Note 3, as users often find themselves choosing between the two. With the Galaxy Note 3, Samsung is introducing a slightly different design language. Of course, we're referring to the leather-like back cover, which is still plastic but gives a whole different look and feel to the device as opposed to the smooth and glossy plastic of the Galaxy S4. We don't say that it's better design, it's just different. The phablet itself doesn't feel cheap. It seems to be well built, although we don't enjoy the fact that such an expensive device is still made with such flimsy, cheap materials. The same thing goes for the Galaxy S4, which has a very similar construction, so neither handset really stands out as far as looks and build quality are concerned. Size-wise, the Galaxy S4 is way easier to hold and use, which isn't surprising considering that it's among the smallest handsets with a 5-inch display. Meanwhile, the Note 3 is naturally a monster with its massive 5.7-inch screen. The phablet is significantly bigger, though the manufacturer has tried to keep those bezels as small as possible. And we have to say that the result is pretty good. Buttons for volume and power are pretty much identical, which would mean that they get the job done without being awesome. Both handsets feature microSD card slot, but there is a noticeable difference when it comes to their micro USB ports. Samsung has equipped the Galaxy Note 3 with a USB 3.0 compatible port, which is why it's so big and different from the one on the Galaxy S4. In order to achieve the higher speeds of the USB 3 port, however, you have to use a compatible cable. If you just can't have enough screen, then here is a good reason to seriously consider getting the Note 3. With its massive 5.7-inch Super AMOLED panel, the Note 3 features considerably more real estate that will make almost everything you do on the device a bit more pleasant and easier on your eyes. The 5-inch screen of the Galaxy S4 is by no means small. Of course, it's still quite large, but as we said, if size isn't an issue for you and you want as much screen as you can get, the Note 3 can offer you just that, more. And in this case, we actually mean more of the same, as both screens utilize Samsung's Super AMOLED screen technology. Resolution-wise, both are 1080 by 1920 pixels, which means that pixel density is a bit higher on the Galaxy S4, but the difference in clarity is negligible. In fact, it'll be easier to read stuff on the Note 3 due to its bigger size. As far as colors and overall image quality go, there isn't a substantial difference between the two. When set to the standard screen mode, the display of the Galaxy S4 tends to be a bit better, but still way too cold and green with very oversaturated colors. If you switch to the professional screen mode, things get a lot more true to life. Although still not perfect, both exhibit decent color balance, though with a somewhat greenish look. One notable improvement found with the Note 3 screen is its considerably better outdoor visibility. Indeed, if you take both displays and try to view them under the hot, bright sun, you have a much easier time viewing the Note 3, which is a definite advantage. Viewing angles are about equal on both handsets. It's great to see that brightness output remains almost unchanged as you view the screens from an angle, though there is a bit of unpleasant color alteration. One feature that you won't find on the Galaxy S4 is the S Pen stylus, which allows you to take handwritten notes using the various built-in software features for the purpose. Or why not even draw on the Note 3? While the Galaxy S4 is still stuck with Android 4.2.2, the Note 3 is enjoying the slightly newer 4.3 version of the platform. However, apart from some very minor graphic tweaks and the S Pen features, the TouchWiz user interface is basically the same on both handsets. The TouchWiz Nature UX is a reskinned version of Android, which looks and feels different from the stock UI. It runs very fluidly and is highly customizable, allowing the user to tweak almost all of its aspects. There's a good number of custom widgets which make it easy for you to compose a useful and informative home screen setup that has a relatively unified look. There are a bunch of hardware configurations for the GS4 and Note 3, but the main difference is that the most widespread version of the Note 3 will sport the newer and more powerful Snapdragon 800 chipset, while the S4 is featuring the Snapdragon 600. Both are still wonderful chipsets, but the Note 3 is going to have an advantage performance-wise. There also seems to be less lag when using the general UI on the Note 3. There are also the Exynos 5 Octa versions of both phones, but we can imagine those will be harder to find. The Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 chip on the Note 3 also packs the newer Adreno 330 GPU, which should, in theory, deliver up to 50% faster performance compared to its predecessor, the Adreno 320, which is found in the Galaxy S4. Right now, you hardly notice any performance improvement in games and other apps, but as more resource-demanding apps start to populate the Play Store, the extra punch of the Adreno 330 will surely be appreciated. The Galaxy S4 will give you a bit more flexibility when it comes to internal storage, as it's available in 16, 32 and 64 GB flavors, whereas the Note 3 only comes in 32 or 64 GB variants. Both, however, feature a microSD card slot, so easy memory expansion is just a walk to the store away. The Note 3 comes with the healthy 3 GB of RAM, while the Galaxy S4 has 2 GB. Seeing that the phablet is a bit more multitasking friendly, considering its bigger screen and S Pen, that additional gigabyte of system memory will probably come in handy. While the landscape QWERTY keyboard of the Note 3 isn't really comfortable to use due to its excessive width, the regular portrait QWERTY keyboard is great for two-hand typing. If you prefer one-handed typing, though, there is the option to tweak the keyboard size and position so that all of its keys can be easily reachable with just a thumb. The camera sensor on the Note 3 is unchanged from what you get with the Galaxy S4. It's the same 13-megapixel camera module with 1/3-inch sensor size and an aperture of f2.2. The Galaxy Note 3 does get some extra features courtesy of the Snapdragon 800 chipset, such as smooth 1080p video recording at 60 frames per second and 4K video recording at 30 frames per second, both of which are much appreciated and could prove to be quite useful, especially the 60 fps 1080p recording. In terms of camera UI, both are identical and not so well laid out. But after some practice, it will be quite easy to get this camera app to do whatever it is that you want. There is a plethora of camera modes, including some more extravagant ones. When it comes to actual photo quality, the Galaxy S4 and the Galaxy Note 3 achieve pretty much identical results, which is to say they're both great. In terms of details, there is no shortage of clarity and sharpness, as images pop with attention to even the most minuscule things in the scenery, complemented further by the accurate colors that the handsets are able to replicate. Under low lighting situations, the Galaxy S4 and Note 3 excel to make their shots rival some of the best in the space right now. Details might appear just a tad softer this time around, but nevertheless acceptable for 6-inch by 4-inch printouts. Both devices are also fantastic with their video recording quality. Just as long as there is sufficient lighting around, the Note 3's and the Galaxy S4's videos come to life with their smooth recording, sharp details and accurate color reproduction, and mostly clear audio recording. The Note 3 excels in this area as it also allows you to record 1080p video at 60 frames per second, which is just mind-blowingly smooth. It also comes with a bunch of slow motion modes. There's also 4K video recording with the Note 3, but obviously you need a 4K display in order to enjoy such footage in its full beauty. As great as the Samsung Galaxy S4 is for video playback, the Note 3 is even better with its massive 5.7-inch display of equal quality. Video literally comes to life on this larger-than-life display, especially with its lush and vibrant colors that may not be so true to life, but make visually impressive clips, such as music videos, appear that much more exciting. In addition to the stock Android Play music player, there is also the versatile music player by Samsung. It neatly organizes your music by artists, albums, songs, genre, recent and playlists. The earphones that come with both the Galaxy Note 3 and the S4 are the same. They are the J5 model and manage to produce quite a decent sound, though they could have been better. Unfortunately, the loudspeaker of the Galaxy Note 3 is quite disappointing. The one of the Galaxy S4 isn't perfect as well, but it sounds significantly better. The tones coming from the Note 3 are just too distorted and deprived of any low or decent high frequencies. At least it's okay in terms of lowness. Neither the Galaxy S4 nor the Note 3 are fantastic when it comes to sound quality during calls. The Note 3's earpiece tends to be just a tad better, as long as you're not using it at maximum volume, though the difference isn't really that big. On the other end of the line, the microphone of the GS4 usually does the better job, as our voice tends to sound somewhat robotic if we're using the Note 3. It looks like the massive 3200 mAh battery of the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 is more than enough to enable the handset to deliver an impressive talk time of 25 hours, as well as more than decent standby of 22 days. Meanwhile, the Galaxy S4's 2600 mAh battery is more than capable of powering the phone for a day of heavy use, but it's supposed to be slightly weaker according to Samsung statistics, which claim a 17-hour talk time and 15 days of standby. Having in mind that both devices offer a very similar user experience, it will depend on the nuances to eventually make users want to side with one handset or the other. For starters, one of the most obvious differentiating factors in play here is the screen size. Not that the 5-inch display of the Galaxy S4 is small, but if you happen to need even more real estate, the Note 3 can give you just that. Of course, this means you should be ready to sacrifice some of your comfort, as the bigger size of the Galaxy Note 3's body sure makes a difference. Apart from the screen size though, the only other significant differences between the Note 3 and the GS4 are the better chipset of the phablet and the lack of an S Pen in the GS4. Still, we wouldn't say that the performance difference is really that big. So in case the ability to draw and take notes using a stylus isn't a must-have for you, don't be afraid to go for the GS4, in case the bigger size of the Note 3 worries you. In case it doesn't, you'll be treated to an equally good experience with both, with the Note 3 taking things just a step further. Thank you for watching our video comparison between the Galaxy Note 3 and Galaxy S4. If you'd like to learn even more about these feature-packed smartphones, come visit us at phonearena.com.